Hello, and welcome to the newest episode of Borderline Podcast Disorder. How's it going? Hope you had a nice weekend. It's been super busy here. It's been a very busy, very intense weekend, but like in a good way. Yeah, in a good way. Like it's been just a lot happening. Actually, as it turns out, this is the reason why the podcast has been slightly delayed by a couple of days, just because um, I've been working on my like part-time day job during the day, and then I've been gigging around all weekend and recorded a podcast episode with another guest as well. That's coming in a couple of weeks. An episode I'm very excited about, but I'll tell you more at the time. And yeah, it's been very tiring, like again, I want to say in a good way, because I feel very productive, but that's why I've decided for today, besides of doing the podcast, I'm just gonna chill out. Mm, not planning to do anything else. Just got a couple like admin bits to do, which I can do from the comfort of my home. And then I'm just gonna go to the gym. And besides of that, I'm just gonna have a nice evening off. And I'm really looking forward to it. Honestly, um, yeah, I kind of passed out on the couch last night. I just fell asleep in the living room as we were still like watching TV. Um, and woke up really early, which I didn't necessarily expect. But I feel like recently, change, because of this whole change in my schedule and routine, um, I woke up quite early naturally, which I don't know if it's good or bad. It's just it's just happening. If you heard the noises earlier, I'm really sorry. It's Sarma and Pickle just running around and chasing each other. They got a new box to play with, which is very exciting for them. I think anyone who's got cats knows, um, and for sure our cats absolutely love boxes. I think they love it more than the actual treats that are in the box sometimes, or toys that we get for them. But yeah, look, this week's episode is going to be a good episode. I mean, again, the conversation with Katie was brilliant, and we I think we shared some similarities in our like mental health journey and like stories, and that was quite interesting to hear because I did not know that beforehand. And also she's a wonderful comic. She's a brilliant comedian, and it was such a pleasure and honor to have her over and record the episode. And I hope you guys enjoy it, because it's definitely been yeah it's been we had a great time. At least I can't speak for her, but I would hope she would say the same thing. But anyway, from my end, I had a great time recording. It was an absolute pleasure, and she's got a couple of shows. She's putting like her own. I think I can't remember, and I should probably do more research on this. I can't remember if they're work in progress or her like fully developed show, but she's got a couple of dates in May. So for anyone living in London, I would definitely recommend you to check her socials, which are going to be in the bio of this episode, and yeah, go see her show. It sounds amazing, and I've seen bits of it, and it's wonderful. Anything else from me? Until you no, actually, you know what? I'm just gonna let you listen to our conversation, and then if I feel like there is something that I forgot, I will tell you after. But for now, enjoy the brilliant conversation I had with even the more brilliant and wonderful person, Katie. Enjoy. Perfect. So, yeah, Katie, thank you for coming. How are you?
I'm good. I'm okay. Thanks. And you? I was going to say I'm good, but that's not true.
Why?
I don't know. I'm having a weird, I would say maybe a mild depressive episode at the moment. I mean, today I feel fine.
Good.
Yes.
But then why what's happened? Or you don't know, it's just kind of seasonal.
No, well, I guess all seasons. What's happened is I moved countries. That's
How long ago was that?
like 3 months.
3 months.
3.5 months.
But have you been to UK before?
Yes, but not for I want to say 15 years.
So what made you want to do it now? Like what was the deciding factor?
There were a couple things. I think my husband has a British passport.
Right.
That his mom was born here, and he figured out how to basically apply for his British passport and get it.
Okay.
In South Africa, which is a little bit complicated.
Really?
Well, oh my God. I mean, they wanted like birth records, and he was born at a government, like a public hospital.
Right.
That every article you look up about this hospital is like, all the record floors have been flooded. There's a fire. So it's basically impossible to get birth records. It was just, he had to prove he was his mother's son. They ended up doing a DNA test to like try to prove it. It was a bit of a nightmare, but he got it.
Nice.
And I think I told you he's a mechanical engineer.
Yeah.
He wanted to work in like, this is such a long answer to a short question. Basically, the fields he wanted to work in are more, well, spacecrafts and stuff. Like aerospace is not
Very
aerospace,
nice.
but like space. I don't know what the difference is between like
Neither do I.
small space and big space. But he wanted to work in that, or like nuclear fusion. All that stuff's here. I also wanted to see what comedy could do what comedy could be like, or what I could do in a room with a higher ceiling, I guess. Like
Interesting.
in an industry with more opportunity. I wanted to see
Fair.
what that was like.
Fair. Because obviously you've done comedy in South Africa. And because you were saying you've been to London before, but not like living. What are you doing comedy at the time, or did you come just to like visit?
No, I was in high school. I came on like a school literary tour. We
No
came
way.
to like the Lake District and Wordsworth's house and like Shakespeare's
Seriously?
house. Yeah.
As a high school student?
Yeah.
We used to go to like 2 hours like bus rides or something like this. This is amazing.
The second half of my high school, I went to like a really nice private school.
Okay.
That was giving all of us scholarships because it had a reputation for being like a druggy dropout school and was trying to turn that around.
Nice.
And so it was like desperate to take kids who were like doing well at school and hated their schools. And that was me. And now it's like, I don't think you can now it's much harder to get into, but.
Okay. I guess it worked.
Oh my
Whatever
God,
they
totally
tried to do, it's worked. That's cool.
But yeah, fancy school trip.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is the thing. I've technically been like at a fancy school in Romania, but yeah, like our holidays were just pretty much here is a bus ride, and then yeah, like 7 hours in a bus, and then you visit like a castle or a church or something, and then again, it was some stuff was pretty nice.
Well, there's great like castles and shit in Romania.
Yeah, that's the
right?
thing. Like, yeah, we don't have to go like that far to.
Yeah.
Sorry, because that was a dig at South Africa. We don't have to go that far to like be enlightened. But
oh my God, South Africa is beautiful. What are you talking about?
I don't know. I've never been.
No, it's fine. I've never been to Romania. I've only seen
Where in South Africa did you live before?
Cape Town, which is the biggest tourist city, I guess.
Because isn't like that's like it's like South Africa, which has like 3 capitals or something like this.
Yes, we have like an administrative capital. Actual capital, but like none of us really know which one is which, and a lot of us get them wrong because I think it's Cape Town, Pretoria, and like Bloemfontein. Like I remember the third one is like a wild card. Joburg is like, I don't think Joburg is in it, which is very confusing.
Oh,
but I don't know which the real capital is. Cape Town has Parliament, so
It's fine. Don't worry. We're not fact checking in
I
this
know.
podcast.
I was like suddenly like, oh my god, I actually don't know anything.
Yeah, I'll just be like, okay, here's a quiz about South Africa, and
no.
you don't know.
I don't know
I'm joking.
anything.
That's funny though.
Yeah,
it's
a huge country. There's lots of stuff going on.
Yeah, and it's technically like a new country.
Yeah,
Technically, like
new democracy.
new democracy. You know,
yes,
that's what I meant.
Democracy.
Yeah, it's still like a young.
Yeah, democracy is only about 30 years.
Yeah,
2 years old.
It's not easy. I think because I was actually Gilly was on a few weeks ago.
Yes.
And we were talking about it. How I just feel like it's the same thing with Romania, where I kind of like as someone, I feel like people in England when they are like, oh yeah, everything is like it makes sense because everything is just it's been there for hundreds of years. And I'm like, no, it actually hasn't, and it's still young. Like you I don't know. Sometimes especially I feel like in today's society, like you don't even trust like a 30 years old sometimes to like act responsibly.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Yeah, so then how you gonna again like how do you make those like standards of like
also compared to like England, which has been England for a very long time.
Yeah,
it's very different. There's stuff I know. Sometimes I expect that I'm like shocked at the infrastructure here. I'm like shocked at how many trains there are and how efficient it is and how like reliable all the transport is. But then I'm like, oh yeah, this country has been functioning like this for like ever.
But then when you were in South Africa, actually, again, this is a genuine question because I'm quite curious. Yes. Were you traveling between gigs in public transport or were you driving?
No, I am.
Or is it a combination?
No, well, there's not a lot of public transport at night, and I sort of stopped taking. I mean, I used to take the train when I was like a teenager, but South Africa is scary. And a lot of like middle class white South Africans like me are like scared of public transport because we're babies. South Africa's divided. Race and class are very linked in terms of like South Africa's divisions. In Cape Town especially, like the spatial divides from apartheid are still very visible. Cape Town is like not a friendly city if you're not a white person, basically. If you're a person of color, it's a pretty racist city, which Cape Townians hate talking about. Everyone's very uncomfortable about it, but it is.
Right.
It's not as like racially mixed as Johannesburg, for example.
No way.
Yeah, it's Cape Town's. It's very that people call it the Europe of South Africa.
Why?
Because lots of white people and lots of tourists from Europe.
Ah, okay,
like loads of like Dutch and German like digital nomads. But anyway, so I don't take. I would drive. Also, yeah, at night, maybe you could Uber, I guess. But there's like driving's already the only way to get around Cape Town at night for gigs, I guess. Yes, I think that's right.
Fair. And how did you get into it? Like, how did you start doing comedy?
How did I guess I wanted to be an actor.
Okay.
I am an actor. That's not true. That's wanted to be an actor, and I am.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's great. You can just say you are, and then you are. That's all it takes. I studied drama at a university in South Africa.
Right.
And we had an improv comedy group there that I joined, and we did improv comedy, like Whose Line Is It Anyway type of vibes. Yeah. Which is not a huge thing there at universities. Like here in the UK and in the US, it's like massive. Like every university has an improv comedy group.
Yeah.
But in South Africa, so that was cool. And then I started hosting shows, and a couple of those.
No way.
Yeah, well, a couple of the guys in the troupe kind of left and then started doing stand-up and encouraged me to do it. And I was like, I'll try while I'm waiting to get roles. As a serious actress. And then it was just fun. And it's also like, when you're an actor, you have to wait. Either if you don't write something, you have to wait for someone to cast you, and you don't have a lot of agency. So
I see.
You have stand up in some way, you have a lot more control over your career. Like if there's open mics, you just have to pitch up and get on stage and ask for a spot. Yeah. And then you can be on stage as many times as there are shows. But with acting, it's almost like someone has to give you permission to be in a movie or, act. Yeah.
But then were you, like, when did you actually were you like as a child? Were you like super creative, and was always drama something that you knew that you were gonna follow, or was it something else?
No, I mean, I've always liked being the center of attention. That's
Yeah, well, you can do that like singing, I guess, or no, actually, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
you have to be good at that.
That's
although
true.
I have been doing like comedy songs in my last show, even though I'm not a very good singer, just because it's fun.
How did you do it? Did you just like vocals, or
Yeah, I just got back. I like wrote parody songs to existing songs, changed the lyrics, got a backing track.
Oh, okay, right. With the
did.
backing, not just like.
Yeah, I'm not.
Is it a cappella?
No, oh my god, I think that would be horrible.
Right.
Unless it's like horrible on purpose. You know what I mean? Like, then it could work. But no, it's no. I was always I always liked the performing arts. I was like, I did ballet when I was a kid. I was on the
No
circus
way.
for a little bit.
Really? What was that like? How did you get into that?
How did I get into I don't know. I just think I found out my parents were very encouraging of my like weird
No
little creative
way.
pursuits. So I think,
Okay.
yeah, I was like, oh, there's a kids circus. I think they took me to watch it and I was like, well, I want to do that. And they were like, okay. So I was in the circus for like a tiny bit.
No way.
Yeah.
Have you got any siblings?
Younger brother.
And are they like AZ as well?
No, he's much more introverted than me.
Right.
He's much more introverted. He's like also more business minded.
Right. Okay.
He's like an entrepreneur. He like.
How old is he? Has he come to like any of your shows? Like, is he old enough to?
Yeah. He's 4 years younger than me, so he's 28 now.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's been around.
Yes, and I've been doing stand up long enough that he is no longer traumatized by watching me talk about sex on stage. In the beginning, I think it was very traumatizing for him.
No way.
Yeah,
That's funny.
When he was like 20, you know.
What about like your parents?
They're both psychologists, so
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
yes, that's why I have so many psychological problems.
Why? I mean, but again, is it what was it then like to, to grow up? Like, were you perhaps like always like aware of your?
Yeah.
I want to say psychology.
yes. I mean, for sure. Like, we talk about feelings like a lot in my family. Like, it's also like a Jewish family thing where we don't repress, we like say all the things we have. If we've got like a problem with each other, we'll like vocalize that, like all of that, and like have like a proper fight. We like regularly hold family meetings.
No way.
To complain about each other. Yeah.
Seriously.
Yes, it's mad. It's in some ways I think better than families who like pretend everything's fine.
Yeah, of course.
In some ways it's not great either, but that's family.
I think it's again like I don't think there is such a thing as a perfect family, but yeah, no, for sure. It sounds good though, because again, it's almost like, and yeah, I don't want to like bitch about my family, but it's kind of like, to us, you have a problem with someone and you have to go to someone else and vent. And it's never really addressed unless, things like really escalate. Like if you're, like, oh, I'm fed up with this. You've always been like treating me like shit. Da, 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 da.
And then it's like big.
Yeah, and then it's like a big
blowout.
Exactly. While now I almost feel like, although again, to me, what you're saying sounds so beautiful, because it's kind of like, okay, yeah, because it's almost like I know this thing where it's like, you when there is a problem, you address the problem right when it's happening or around that time, rather than waiting for the stuff to build up.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the problem with families, I think, is that like it's very hard to address a single problem and then not bring up like every other single problem that you've ever had with that person. And so it's still like, it's still like fighting like
Makes
sense.
sense.
I think most families, but I do think it helps. I prefer to know what's going on with someone rather than like I'm often stressed that my husband's upset with me and he's not telling me.
Nice.
Because he's like he's like a brooder. He'll just like sit and think about something for ages before he's ready to talk about it. And I'm like, I need you to tell me right now. I got cross with him earlier today because he was like, he said I hadn't been cleaning up this week as much as usual because I was like in a bad space, and I was like, why would you not tell me that? And he was like, well, this is me telling you. And I was like, yeah, but if this has been bothering you for a few days, why would you tell me now? And he was like, well, what do you want? I'm telling you. And I was like, you should have told me days ago. I was like, I don't know how to win.
But you see, I feel like sometimes it's very like it's fascinating. It's almost like I heard this before, where it's kind of like, whenever you got what you always long for something that you say you didn't have. So it's almost like, to
Yes.
me, I'm like, oh my god, like your scenario sounds like the perfect scenario, and then you're like, oh,
Yes.
actually, sometimes it's a bit, it's still annoying, it's still frustrating, and I'm like, again, I get it, yeah, because it's
Yeah.
almost, and I think it's quite funny because then what did your, I mean, obviously I imagine because you're married, he's met your parents.
We've
And
lived with my parents.
oh, okay, how was that? If you can share, if not, don't worry.
I can share whatever I want, baby. No, everyone's cool. Well, this is the problem with the kind of family is that we talk about a lot of. We're not, there's not a lot we're hiding from the world or each other. So I also like I don't know. It's also like I was listening to a podcast about I think it was with Mike Birbiglia, and he was talking about Elizabeth Gilbert, and they were talking about like how scared everyone is of people finding out like your big secrets.
Yeah.
And it's like everyone already knows. Like there are no secrets. Everyone already knows all your shit. Like no, but I mean a lot of the time it's like this your vulnerable inside feelings that you're terrified that like everyone will see it and see you differently. And it's like, well,
oh yeah, we've seen it coming. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, but also like everyone it's not like something, it's usually just you're just a person with human secrets and human experiences and human feelings. And it's not like it's so alien that people will be horrified unless you are like obviously a serial killer, I guess. Maybe I'm misinterpreting.
But even then, though, I feel like, when I watch a serial killer documentary, there are many moments when I kind of like, I empathize. I'm like, yeah, I get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when I watched Jeffrey Dahmer, I was like, you know what? I get it.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I didn't watch that one because it freaked
me
out.
No way.
I'm not a fan of the true crime.
No way. I love true crime.
I know, but like a lot of my female friends love true crime, and I'm like, it's scary because I'm worried it's going to happen to me in real life, and I don't think this will prepare me.
Oh, I used to watch, because one of my favorite shows, it's Criminal Minds. And I think for a while before I got actually even at the beginning when I first got diagnosed with with borderline personality disorder, because almost like every other serial killer in that show.
Yeah, everyone is born.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, is this me? Because like obviously I don't like fantasize about killing people. I do think sometimes I'm like especially like I feel like when there are people that I really don't like I wouldn't do anything to them again. I've never done anything. I have to address this.
That's so funny, just for legal reasons.
But then when I look at someone, I'm like, I wish I could, and like I can picture it.
That's so funny.
And then I remember watching Criminal Minds and being like, oh my god, I think this is me. And I remember like crying sometimes. With, like,
were you worried you would become a serial killer?
Yeah. Because I'd be like, oh my god, I'll just.
I guess this is what I have to do. It's written in the stars.
This is the plan, You kind of like you get diagnosed,
right?
And then something bad happens, and that's the trigger.
Yeah.
And then you start like you get an MO, and I was like, I would like go like, oh, what would my MO be?
What would your MO be?
I don't know. Again, I've never gone that far.
Okay, you stopped yourself. You've gone.
I did, but I'll tell you after. No, no, but yeah, that was pretty much like my train of thoughts. And I remember like many times going like, oh shit, this is it.
That's so funny. Yeah. I was at some point diagnosed with borderline.
No way.
Yeah, I've been diagnosed with a lot of things, a lot of times.
And is it something that like stuck?
There were definitely some things, I suppose, like behaviors and there are parts of borderline traits that I think resonated for me a lot. A psychologist like a couple, I suppose, years ago, maybe 7 years ago, was like, maybe have a look about this. And it really resonated with me, and we worked really hard on a lot of those things. And it feels like it's not as present now, maybe.
Okay.
But it was because all of it's a spectrum, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I know we talk about spectrum.
I was about to say that.
Autism, but all of this is a spectrum. Depression is a spectrum.
Yeah.
And I think, so it really helped me, actually. Initially, I was pissed off because I was like, you mean like Angelina Jolie and Girl Interrupted? Like, that's what you think. It's not... Borderline's not a diagnosis I think anyone wants to get.
No.
It's not a fun one.
Especially, I don't know how, like, to what depths you went when I heard about you know, like, oh, it's technically like it's not curable. You can't like even like medication. You take like you can get like SSRIs for like, you know, mood stability, but you're not really, you know, like you just have to control it almost.
Right. Yeah. So
And
you have
I'm
to
like,
learn how to like manage
like
those things.
I remember the first time I like my first diagnosis actually was a bipolar disorder.
Me too.
And I was like, oh, cool, because you know, at least with that, obviously I'll just tweet something like racist once in a while, but then besides of that, you know, it's controllable.
That's how you felt about. That's what you were like. That's bipolar, obviously.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, that's why I say racist. You know, I was
It's
like,
the bipolar.
yeah,
Yes,
it's the bipolar. I get it.
And then you Googled it, and you were like, oh, that's not.
Yeah, well, apparently it is.
What?
Yeah, I heard like
Racism is a
apparently because someone, well, again, it's someone who it was like when the last like Kanye row of like anti-Semitic and actually like anti almost everything. If you actually, because I went and like read all one by one.
He talked about everyone that's like everything, all the like the items that have betrayed him.
Yeah, not just that, but even before that, because like he had a dig at like feminism, he had a dig at like race, like race, obviously Jews.
He casts his net wide.
Everyone, and then I remember speaking with someone about it around that time, and they were like, a good friend of mine actually, also who's been like, we met actually in the hospital doing DBT.
Oh my gosh.
After I got diagnosed, but then this friend of mine goes like, oh, you know, it's a trait of. But like racism is a trait of like saying racist stuff is a trait of bipolar disorder, and I was like, I really don't know if that's true, but apparently it is.
I don't know about that. That sounds.
But it's funny because it's
like
kind of like, yeah, it's like I'm bipolar. I also I hate. I was gonna say now, and I might just blur it later, but like I hate black people. But I think that's just the bipolar part of me.
Oh my gosh, see, that's crazy. That doesn't make any fucking sense. That's bullshit.
So this is the thing where I was like, but again, when I went between diagnoses, I was like, you know what, I will happily take bipolar. Because at least it sounds like if you're medicated, you're cool.
Yeah, totally.
Or
I mean,
better.
depending on what type, if it's one or two, either way, like mood stabilizers, you know.
While with us, not so much.
No, it's not. So look, I'm hesitant to say like I was fully diagnosed with borderline, but it definitely, basically I got diagnosed with like some borderline traits.
Right.
And I brought it up to my psychiatrist, and she was like, yeah, that tracks. And I was like, oh, okay, you're not going to fight with me at all on that. Like, I thought she was going to be like, come on, that's a little bit of a stretch. But she was like, okay, yeah, no, that makes sense.
But then what was it like then for you when, say, you're growing up and, you know, you're having... Again, you're learning about like your well-being, and you learn about like, I guess, your mental health, and obviously you have a much better understanding because of your parents. But then, you know, to almost like, were you comfortable to like speak with them about your well-being? Were they the ones who referred you to like to see a psychiatrist or like a therapist whenever you felt like, oh, you might need one? Or I'm just curious.
I did because Look, at the moment, I kind of don't really identify with any of the like specific label diagnoses.
Yeah.
It's like just so many things are going on. And it's also, I've been to too many people, and I've been too over pathologized. So I'm trying to just be like, I'm a person like all the other people.
What's over? I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine. Sorry. This is the problem when you're a psychologist child, is that you talk about, I guess, like, overdiagnosed, and so many things that I do or parts of my personality have been like, oh, that's because you have ADHD, or that's because you have anxiety, or that's because you know.
I got it.
And it's actually just sometimes I think a diagnosis can be really helpful at a time.
Yeah.
But I'm beyond that now, I think. So my parents always offered therapy, I think. They made it very clear that they think everyone should go to therapy and it's good for everyone. And it was not something I was scared to ask for. I started having panic attacks when I was like 11.
No way.
12. Yes, which is, you would maybe a touch young. And then when I was 13, I think I asked to go to therapy.
Do you remember how the panic attacks felt? Or like, what is it how do you, I guess, now know they were panic attacks?
I mean, because I've had like many since, now I know that that's what that was. Look, I didn't know then. I think.
Oh, right. At the time, you were just like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah, I didn't have like loads. I had like maybe one or two. But I was like, I know this is not great. I'm not loving this.
Right.
And it doesn't seem like this is happening to everyone.
Was it like a environmental thing, or was it again just because you're like thinking about people but you're at home? How?
No, it was usually in a response to, well, my trigger was performing, which is ironic since that's
No way.
what I've pursued. Yeah, so the first panic attack I had was at like a music Eisteddfod, which I don't know if that's a thing that happens in every country, if it's an Eisteddfod.
Eisteddfod.
It's like it's like a competition.
Okay.
Sort of thing that they have every year.
How is like a pageant sort of thing?
Yeah, kind of, I guess. It's like in your age group, piano and like this, I don't know. It's like there's lots of different categories. So for dancing, for music, for singing.
And is that done through school? Or is that like privately?
Yeah, well, our school teachers always did it, but it's always like kids from all over.
Right. Okay. I got the idea, but no, at least in Romania, it wasn't a thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so I had done one. I'd done them since I was like 7.
No way.
And at this point I was 11 and I played the piano and I played a song. I played a song. That makes me not sound like I was a real musician. I played a little song. I think I thought I knew the piece off by heart. And I was quite good at memorizing stuff. And I forgot it on stage, which had never happened to me before. And it was like a total fuck up. And I was like, can I start again? Which was always my worst. And then I thought I was fine. But then the next Eisteddfod, like a couple days later, I got there and I just could not go inside the room. And then had what I now know to be a panic attack.
No way.
And the second one I can remember distinctly was when I was 13 outside the play rehearsal. Isn't that ridiculous that that's what I've pursued?
No, I mean, again, it's... Sorry, but I feel like... I think it's a lot like... I don't want to... I don't know if it's going to sound very cheesy, but it's like, you almost like... You're so involved and you like... You're really passionate about something.
I care too much.
Yeah. You kind of... I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it,
Right, that's true.
Yeah, because I feel like... And again, there is no evidence about what I'm about to say next. I feel like it's just something that I thought about once. That it kind of makes sense because I feel like even from like personal experience, when I get like most anxious, it's actually when things that again, it has to be something that I'm, I care about. Something that's like I feel like it's meaningful. I wouldn't.
Right.
Yeah, like I don't remember just getting anxious over like, even like things on the news, I'm like, okay, like it's sad. Or sometimes it's sad, or it's, good news are good, bad news are sad. But I'm not getting like, oh my God, there is like, a war going to start tomorrow in here. It's more about, like, my partner is not replying to my text message, or like she didn't put like X at the end of the text message. This is clearly a sign that we're going to separate.
That stuff drives me mad. But yes, no, it's true. It's stuff you care about. That stuff drives me insane. I spent like, especially when I'm in a mood like this, like I have been when I'm like quite anxious and quite depressed, where like, oh my God, my husband is like sitting next to me in the bed on his phone yesterday. And I like look at him and I'm like, what's wrong? And he's like, what? No, I'm fine. And I'm like, I feel like something, like I feel like you're upset with me. And he was like, well, now I kind of am because you're like bothering me. No, I ask him like, are you mad at me enough times? Yeah. But then he becomes irritated with me because I'm asking. Yeah. It's so annoying.
Yeah, no, I think it's, I actually remember a couple of times when this happened with me and my partner where I was like, do we have a problem? And she'd be like, again, no. And then I'll be like, oh, okay, because you did this thing. And then she's like, oh, well, now we do.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, okay, fine, I guess.
Yeah, but the incessant asking is often the thing that like makes the problem.
Yeah, but I don't know if this is actually, again, a very genuine curiosity about, if something like, say, like, if something, you have like a witty reply to something your husband says. Do you kind of like wait and you write that as as a joke, or do you actually live that experience?
Wait, what do you mean?
Just because, again, like say you might have like a disagreement or an argument, or like they say something wrong and you like correct them. Because I'm curious because sometimes I almost forget that, like, I'm not on a I'm not on like a sitcom.
Right.
And I
Oh, yes. Right. Okay, yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
yeah, and I get to like annoy my partner in like the weirdest times and places.
I mean, often that's how we diffuse arguments, I think. And my husband and I are always trying to make each other laugh.
Nice.
So I think like if there's room for a bit or a joke, we will do it, even if we're having a fight or one of us is sad, because it's too hard not to. That's one of the things I like about him, is that we like can't stop riffing. I think he's not a comic, thank God.
How did you two meet? Were you already doing stand-up comedy?
Yes, I was.
Right.
But he thought it was like we met on Tinder.
No way.
I know, vintage.
Very nice.
Vintage dating app. How did you meet your
Hinge?
Hinge. See, that's the modern version.
Yeah.
That's cool Tinder.
I don't know. I feel like I don't think I don't think it had anything to do with the app itself, but I feel like on Tinder I've never been lucky.
No, Tinder's horrible. Tinder's like an absolute, it's feral. It's wild out there.
I don't know, especially like in England, I feel like at least at the time when I was using it, everything, I feel like I was getting just like, those like scam messages about like, hey, let's speak on Instagram. And then here's my Instagram, just like follow me and drop me a message. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
Yes,
and
or like drug dealers.
That's it. So that's why I feel like, with Tinder, it's never been what's the word? A realistic or whatever alternative or
yes, well, it also like it dropped off. I think it was a sort of, I guess it became just like such a hookup app.
And were you in South Africa?
I was in South Africa. Yes, this was 5 years ago.
Damn, nice.
Which sounds like not that long. Maybe 5 years ago. We met in 2020. We met in February of 2020. We met 2 months before lockdown.
Damn.
So we didn't lock down together, but then I did break lockdown to go stay at his house. Which actually, look, technically I did not break lockdown. Technically I booked a physio appointment very close to his house, which was legal, because South Africa was very strict, and the cops were everywhere. There were roadblocks everywhere. You couldn't drive anywhere without like a letter to say why you were there.
Yeah, but then is it because I think they did this thing in Romania? The letter was like you had to write the letter.
Oh no, I had to get like a letter from the physio practice to say I have an appointment, and that's why I'm allowed to drive here.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a medical letter.
Because in Romania they did this thing where you had to just like write a note. Like
I say I can do this.
It's like, oh, I'm going shopping, and like between the hours.
Oh my god.
Or and I will be home at this time or whatever. And I was like,
that's ridiculous.
Like I don't want any like shade with the Romanian government, but it was like one of the dumbest things that I've ever heard. Where it's kind of like, you just write like what some of my friends they'd just be like, oh, I have to like pick up some honey from a neighbor who lives like 500 miles away. I guess I'll just
you gave yourself like a permission.
You gave the permission. Then you'd sign it at the bottom, like you'd be like, God. I hereby
give myself
permission.
Signed by me.
Yeah, and then you'd like my friend would have like a notepad and a pen.
Oh my God! And this car,
he used to like drive around a lot. and then he just like make notes after notes and just be like, because he was, I think their point was something to do with like you have to show that you actually had a reason before you left the house.
Okay.
But as if people wouldn't hack the idea of like carrying a notepad and a pen with them.
Right.
Because they'd be like, pens and notepads are only at home.
I know.
So they have to be at home to write the note.
Yes.
And then live with it.
And like have planned it. I guess
that's quite funny, but
I mean that is quite funny. But no, South Africa was very strict. The police got very excited to have like absolute power. No, but I do feel like all the countries did lockdown so differently because no one knew what the fuck was going on or what to do. And so everyone was like, I don't know if this happened in Romania, but in South Africa at the beginning, everyone got very panicky about what you could buy and what you couldn't. And it was like, you can only buy essentials. And so for the first couple of weeks, parts of all the supermarkets they cordoned off all the like toiletries aisles and like makeup and clothes because it was like, this is not essential. It's not food. And so you couldn't buy like hair dye because it wasn't an essential purchase. And then I think everyone realized like it doesn't matter. If people are at the shop, they can buy whatever's at the shop. But everyone was, I mean, it was a pan. Like no one knew what to do. So everyone just putting in rules.
No, I feel like here it was this like hoarders. That became a thing in the UK. In Romania, I don't know actually.
Were you here?
Yeah. I came to England like almost maybe, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago.
Oh, right. So, of course.
Yeah. So, I was here and then I only had to go to Romania because I had a like family emergency maybe like a year into it. So, like in 2021.
Okay.
But then in 2020, I was that's actually, funnily enough, that's the time when I had like my first like huge breakdown.
Oh, yeah?
And I've done therapy for the first time.
In 2020?
And then I ended up like writing, journaling, which then made me do stand-up.
Oh, shit. Seriously?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So I guess, thank you, COVID.
Oh, I was going to thought you were going to thank Borderline.
No. Because again, like at the time, it was just like, oh, you're just depressed. Right. And I was like, okay, all right.
Shit. So what happened when you had a breakdown? Was it like during lockdown?
Yeah. Because I think I was at home for the first time in a while. I wasn't I wasn't working.
Yeah.
And my dad died like 5 years before maybe not 5, maybe 3 or 4 years before the lockdown. But it's almost like I've never really processed that.
Okay.
So then I was just like thinking about him a lot, and I was kind of like, I felt very guilty for everything that's happened, and I was just like, I was trying to process that, but then I was also struggling. I struggled with what now I know it was like. That was I need to use the terminology so that I don't get my video doesn't get banned on YouTube. What's life ending? I had like those scenarios since I was unalive. Yes, that's it. I had like thoughts of like being unalive since I was like 13.
Oh, wow.
But they used to be just like once in a while.
Okay.
While then I feel like at the beginning of the pandemic, it was like I'd wake up and go to sleep with that as like my...
Right.
Like my thing to like look forward to.
Where it's like playing on a loop in your head.
Yeah. And then...
That's horrible.
And then from there, I think at one point I was like, I think I'm just going to do it. And then I ended up... I ended up calling like the Samaritans at the time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I called the Samaritans and I was like, hey, like I don't know what to do. Like this feels very weird, and I've been like struggling with this for a long time. And then they were like, oh, I was just like on the phone with someone for like a half an hour or something like that.
What was that like? Were they good?
Yeah, they were actually quite nice. But then there was this weird thing where I don't know if this happened to you, but also this was my first interaction, like the first time I've ever said to someone out loud.
Oh wow.
Yeah, what I thought, and then I actually felt like this feels a bit like I actually felt like I'm wasting their time because I feel like it's almost like this idea of like. I reckon there might be someone who's actually even like more proactive at this.
That's like depression's best trick is to make you, as soon as you start telling people you're not feeling good, it's like, I think you're fine.
And I was like, oh my God. And I remember throughout the call, just be like, hey, look, actually, you know what? I don't think it's that bad. So like, look, no, please, let's, it was like, look, I don't mind. Let's speak. And I was like, but then a part of me was like, I feel like I'm wasting your time and I'm wasting my time and I'm wasting everyone's time.
Right.
And like, there are many other things that I can do, and that was like the whole thing in my head.
Yeah.
It felt good. And again, I think it was a lady actually, and she was quite nice. She was
right. Where you're like, I'm so sorry to inconvenience you.
Yeah, I was like, I'm really sorry. And she's like, look, that's
life or death situation.
Yeah. But then it's kind of like, I feel like a mug. Like I should have, because I was like, what if again, like say somebody else was to, or again, it's kind of like, well, actually, was it that bad, or is it really, or how do I? And I didn't even like have the courage to say it. I was almost like, I'm just thinking about like not existing anymore. And then this lady was like, what do you mean? And I was like, you know what I mean.
You know what I mean, lady.
Yeah, I was like,
what number is this? You know what I called. Come on. I know. It's embarrassing. It's funny that it's embarrassing. It shouldn't be embarrassing, but it is embarrassing to tell people, because you're like, when you say it, sometimes it sounds silly. And I think that is shame. I think that's like shame undermining you. But I know I was having some intrusive unaliving thoughts yesterday, and it's not at all like an impulse that I want to do this. Just every so often I have a loop of thoughts of like, I should probably just walk into the traffic. And it's very frustrating. And then I was telling my therapist about it, and I was like, you know what, maybe it's not that bad. And then she was like, well, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm making it up, which is so funny, because like, everything in your brain is made up. All your thoughts are made up, really.
That's pretty much how it works.
That's how thoughts work. And this is like an unpleasant thought to have. But it's like the knots you tie yourself into trying to like justify or excuse it. Or I do like, I'm sure everyone is having a much harder time than me, so I must just stop being a baby. Or I'm like, I am worse than everyone could ever be. No one has been as depressed as me, which is like, it's the same thing, but it's also bullshit.
But you see, this is the thing though, it's kind of like, and I'm actually curious, what was it like for you, like when you say like, because I guess actually no, it could have been very different. Because like, what was it like then when you first started? Like, were you perhaps like honest with your therapist, or like were you quite like open from the get-go?
Well, I've had a lot of therapists, so it
but like even again, I'm talking about like the beginning.
When I started, no, I have often been very resentful of my therapists, even if I have chosen to see them, which is something I'm trying to explain to my husband, because I was a bit of an asshole to my therapist yesterday, and she really helped me out. I texted her today to be like, I'm feeling better, thank you, sorry for being such a dick. But I often I remember when I was 13 thinking like, also because I have psychologist parents, right? So I have some kind of understanding of what like the techniques of therapy are and the rules. So I would always be looking for like what trick they were gonna, what technique, not trick, that's not great, but what technique they were gonna do. And if I could see the way they were working, if I could see like the mechanics of it, then I like lost respect for them. And I mean, this was me as a teenager. I was a brat, I'm a difficult patient because of that, because I'm like, my instinct is to be like, cool, well, I'm going to make you work for it.
Surprise me.
Yeah, exactly. It surprised me. It's funny. Someone was like, it's sort of like comedy or magic, where like, if you can see how the trick or how the joke is set up, it's sort of not exciting to you anymore.
I could have done it.
And I'm like that with therapy. Like if I can see what the therapist, like I remember, when I was 13, my therapist made me draw a flower and then wanted to tell me how I was like the flower. And I remember being like, this is bullshit. Like, I just drew this flower because it's the only flower I can draw. Not because, like, I think I'm like this, whatever.
Yeah.
And, I mean, my one therapist when I was 15, I don't know why I was such a dick to her, but, like, I remember I used to come in and be like, I'm not going to say anything today. And I just sit in the session and say nothing and be like, let's see if she can make me speak. Which is cool.
How did it work?
Not good. I won, which is a nightmare when you're 15. You shouldn't be winning that kind of like manipulative therapist game. I had to go to a different therapist. It was a nightmare. I know I'm realizing this does not reflect well on me, but you've got to understand.
That's all good. You were 15 and it's not, I mean, again, even if you do it now, I think it's each with their own.
Oh, well, this is the problem with therapy is it's very vulnerable. So I guess that's the thing. You're asking me if I was open. So I often go into therapy with the intention of being open, but then I feel very vulnerable and very defensive. And so then I do all this bullshit to try get around actually talking about what I'm feeling or taking responsibility. And my therapist now is very good. She also does DBT. That's why I'm seeing her.
Nice.
She's very good at seeing through all the bullshit and like, yeah, just making me be direct.
You know, I remember like my first therapist. I got this guy. It was again brilliant, but I was just like, oh, how do I tell? Like, I was just so scared to like just say stuff.
Oh, right.
And I would just be like, you know, like I'm thinking about, but it's not that bad actually, you know. And I would just like move on and like, yeah. But then it's like, oh, so tell me like what happened. I was like, okay, let's go like through your like life story.
God, yeah.
And I'd be like, oh yeah, so this thing happened when I was like 8 months old, and then he's like, oh, please continue. I was like, well, yeah, actually not that bad, you know, because then like when I was 4, I was like quite, you know, I was quite smart for my age, and I was like speaking a lot, and you know, which wasn't like a normal thing because you develop like, and he'd be like, yeah, but let's go back to when you were late, and I was like, okay, cool. So when I was 8 months, and I was like, yeah, but then at 7, I was like, you know, I got to like into this school, and my parents really wanted me to get there, and you know, I was really good, and then it was like, okay, but let's talk about like, let's go back. It's like, okay, we'll go back, and I was like, oh, by the way, like I remember one Christmas.
Oh my God.
And then
no, they know that like a good therapist knows that like the thing you're trying to all the stuff you really want to talk about up front isn't where the stuff is. That's not where the good shit is.
Yeah, but I reckon this is why I feel like at the time I was just like granted like 20 sessions.
Okay.
And I'd be like, this is way too many sessions. But then like after 15 sessions, I was like, oh my God. And almost is like actually this is why I had this thought is because I remember you said this thing about how, you know, you go with the right intentions. Because I remember going like, hey, I'm gonna like, I remember say like I have like thoughts about like being like unalive or whatever the night before, and I'd be like, that's it, I'm gonna tell him tomorrow. I didn't. I haven't like I haven't told my first therapist.
Really?
Yeah. I've only started with the therapist like 3 years later, a different therapist 3 years later. When I actually like said it out loud. I was like, this is what I've been thinking about. And then she was like, I knew. And I was like,
this is what I mean when I say that we don't have any secrets.
Yeah.
It's like we think we're hiding that stuff so well. Look, especially to a therapist, you're not. But well, this is the thing is it's so scary when you're like in the room one-on-one and someone is just looking at you. And you're like, don't look at me. Are you mad? Look somewhere else. No, I find it difficult too. It takes me so long to be able to cry in front of a therapist, to be comfortable enough. Takes me like over a year sometimes of seeing a therapist. But I've gotten better at it now. Now I'm like a little more open. But I used to feel very protective. My therapist got so excited when I cried in front of her the first time because she was so used to seeing me like stop myself from crying.
Yeah, it's like, cool.
Yeah, and she pushed the tissues towards me like way too happy, and I was like, okay, I know this is a breakthrough. Just shut up. Like we don't have to make a thing about it.
Really? Because I feel like I'm quite the opposite. I mean, especially when I have to like talk about like early childhood and things like this. Because the thing is, I was like adopted very young, and then with like my parents died and everything, like my life story so far has been quite fucking, you know, a lot of shit has happened. And then that's when I cry, but then like I wouldn't do it for like another like 2 years after, because I'm just like, you know, I'm kind of like I cry because I think about and like having to like tell my story, which actually this is one of the reasons why I've been very like, oh, I don't want to see as many therapists, or like, you know, I just stick with someone.
Yes.
But again, I imagine obviously it's different for everyone. But yeah, to me, I just feel like this is actually one of the things that kind of like puts me off. You know, even like wanting to change or like doing other things. I'm like, I don't want to go through the same story again until my next book comes out. My first book comes out, in which case it's a autobiography, and then I can be like, read this.
Oh, that must be so useful. No, I know. That's one of my worst things as well, is because I've just not because I didn't necessarily want to see a therapist, because I'd moved and for various reasons, I've had a few therapists, and it is a nightmare to have to go from the beginning, because it's also like, I'm like, oh, I know that sounds interesting, but I've really worked through that.
Yeah.
And we don't need it. I'm sure it will come up, but like, can we not dwell on that now? We need to get to the present day.
But you see, this is the thing though, because it's almost like, oh, I need to give you the context.
Yes.
And then it's like, how do I get through this fast.
Oh, I know. And also because you can't get through it fast because they have so many
Yeah,
questions. They want to know. So, and it's like, I know, it's so funny that you go to therapy and the first couple sessions are you contextualizing your whole life.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, look, I'm here for this specific problem. You need to know all this information for me to deal with this problem, but I really don't have time to just keep going through the photo book with you. Like,
yeah,
it's very frustrating.
It was quite weird, and it's a interesting experience. But yeah, no, I remember like my first therapist was this guy who actually, now looking back, reminded me of my whole family, because it was a Greek guy, and I'm Romanian, so it's kind of like similar tempers and stuff like this, and sometimes I'd be like, oh yeah, like I'm angry today, and he'd be like, why are you angry? And I was like, don't judge me.
Oh,
because I was like, this sounds like what like my father would say, or like
in a judgy way.
Although he wasn't, I think he was just being but he also like, although you can't see it, but then he would like put the glasses on, like he would read like this with the glasses on the top of the nose.
Oh my
God.
Then
I would say something and he would like write it down, and then as soon as I said something like interesting or like deemed as interesting by a professional, he would just like look at, because I used to do remote as well, because it was again during COVID. Right. So he would just like put his face. I was like, wait, what did you mean there? And I'm like, are you testing me now?
Yes.
It felt quite funny. And I remember at one point going like, hey doc, I feel like I'm good. I think it was about 6-7 months we worked together. And I was like, I'm good. I think I'm fixed. I'm gonna depart now. I'm gonna go away.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I got to the point where I was like, we didn't have anything to talk about.
No, that's a good sign.
And then I disappeared for a couple of months, and then actually not even a couple. I disappeared in like February, and then in February 2021, and then in May. I reached out to him again. I was like, hey, can we I need to do like, actually I think at the time I was like, I need some like grief counseling.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, no problem. And then we go in the session. He was like, okay, so yeah, let's catch me up. Like, tell me what's up. And then I was just like, yeah, so like we did this like therapy thing. It was quite well. Like I was, better to, I kind of like understand myself a bit better. I look at things differently. And then I was like, yeah. And then, things were great. And then my mom died. Oh. And then he just like, as he writes, he just goes, what?
Oh my God.
And almost like a part of me was like, got you there. See? Because now as might, although it did happen, but like, I remember just like looking at the camera again and just being like, I want to see his reaction. And then, so yeah, he's basically like writing with the glasses on the top of the nose. And then he was like, my mom died. And he was like, what?
Oh, you got him to look up, and you were like, that's the twist, buddy.
Yeah, so I was like, how are we gonna fix this?
Yeah.
And yeah, that was like the return, the return to the doctor. And
are you still seeing that?
No, I'm not seeing him. I was seeing someone else. I was seeing another doctor, but like a female near Manchester, which was quite nice. It was very like, I feel like it was much more like for the heart. It helped me out a lot. That sort of like, so how did you feel, Levi? And I'm like, oh my God, thank you, Mom.
Yeah.
And then I stopped seeing her when I started doing the DBT.
Okay.
Because I did like a treatment thing in a hospital for 6 months. And then after that, I've been referred to a doctor from the hospital that I done the DBT at. And then that's the doctor that I'm seeing now. And I've seen this new doctor, also a female. I've seen her, which is also actually from Greece, I think.
Oh my God.
Either
why
Greece
are all
or
your
Cyprus. But again, she has a very Greek slash Cypriot accent. Although we usually talk about me, so I have no idea where she's from. But yeah, no, I've seen her for over a year now.
Okay, that's working.
Yeah, I think so. Again, there are weeks when we just don't talk about much, and we kind of like, and then when there is not a lot to talk, we just like see each other every 2-3 weeks.
Right.
But the thing is, because I have a psychiatrist now, like a designated psychiatrist, and then he's the one that he just like refers me, and he goes like, no, just do it anyway. Like, make sure you stay in touch. But I feel like at one point, I would entertain the idea of like not doing it for a while. But then I also feel like it's good because it almost like it keeps me in shape with even like as you say, like for example, like my therapy is tomorrow. So I'm like, oh, I gotta like almost like analyze my week and see what happened this week, and like perhaps like remember a little bit of, you know, how did I deal with so and so, and then whether I deal with it in the like the best way possible.
It makes you like check in a way that you might not regularly. My therapist recently said she was like, you need to think about when you'd be ready for every 2 weeks, because a couple of weeks ago she was like, I think you're doing really well, and I was like, thank you so much, I am. And then she was like, maybe we should, you know, think about possibly moving to every 2 weeks, and I was like, no. But she was like, you know, it's good to also give yourself a chance to live life on life's terms and see that you can do it, which was a good point, but I'm not ready yet. But, you know, I think it's okay. I think it's also like back and forth. Well, like with medication, I've been on and off medication, and I think it's okay sometimes to be like, you know, I've learned a lot, I've grown a lot, let's see how this is without therapy, or, you know, depending on what you're dealing with, without meds. I don't know if I'll do that ever again, but maybe. I don't know. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. This thing, I'm very open to anything. Really.
Yeah, absolutely. Was the clinic in the UK?
Yeah, it was in London. It was West London.
Did they can you do that for, like, is that on the NHS?
No, I am not lucky because I pay for it, but I have private insurance. And I wasn't diagnosed before, so when I was like, okay, let's do it.
Right.
But now because I had to change policies, actually, anything to do with BPD, it's not.
What? It's not covered?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's not.
Why? Because
otherwise, like, I think my insurance would go from like £90, which is not what I pay now, to like £400 a month. No, I'm being very serious. Yeah, you can swear. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. But sorry, I suddenly was like, oh, YouTube. I don't know. It would go up that much because do you think it's because they also watch true crime? They're like, we are not.
Yeah, we need legal. We need to pay our legal team.
If we're going to support the serial killers, they better fucking pay out their asses.
No, but apparently, no. I think apparently it's just a thing.
Because it's a pre-existing condition.
Yeah, exactly. It's a pre-existing condition. And I was like, yeah, but I'm changing like the policy in like within your establishment.
This is the worst thing about these people is like, but also, you know, I know BPD does have a high, what is the word? Unaliving risk rate of diagnoses.
Yeah, but I'm still paying until then.
Well, true. That's true. Surely, you want to keep you going so you can keep paying them. You know, you would think that would be motivating for them.
Yeah, they'll, if anything.
I can't believe that.
They'd be like, the longer you live, the less you have to pay.
Absolutely. You should get bonuses for each year you manage to stay alive. They should give you just like a coffee or something, you know, like a little treat. Yeah. Like a little
it's not even like that. Again, it's a great it's a great insurance policy, but it doesn't even give you, because I know other days do like, oh, here's a free coffee because in case your heart might explode, and that will be, you know, good for us. But no, they don't even do that. But I see what you're saying, and well, I was gonna say but then still, you know, killing a CEO of Big Pharma wasn't right. I'm still very much against Luigi Mangione.
Right.
But with that being said,
he is hot.
But that's it.
Right.
And even then, I'm like, Ted Bundy is like in some pictures.
Right. Yeah, but it's also I know too much about him. It's too creepy. Yeah. Luigi is enough of an enigma. Do you know I know a guy from university who looks, I'm not even joking, exactly. I'll show you a picture. He looks exactly like Luigi Mangione. And
I know someone who looks exactly as well. I feel like it's just the way it is.
Is he just like one of those people who looks like other people? It's that's sort of exited the news cycle now, hasn't it?
Yeah. Until this drops.
And now we're gonna restart it. Yeah. I wonder what's gonna happen.
R.I.P. Brian Thompson. I just gotta.
Right.
Is the name of the guy.
I know. Yeah. Okay. I mean, look, I read
very handsome guy. Very handsome guy. Well, handsome enough.
It's okay.
It's a family man.
Family man, yeah. Family, a good old family man. Right, but it's the insurance thing. Well, I also, I was very excited about the NHS because it was like...
if you have... But this is actually quite the funny thing that, especially with like anything that has to do with like being unalive and stuff like this, the waiting list is so big that it's kind of like, it's almost like they push you to.
Are they hoping
to
you
stick
think?
around?
Oh, right. So that you can get an
That's the thing. That's where the it's like a double-edged sword, where it's like, is it because they are like, hey, by then hopefully
the waiting list will be at least halved in size.
Yeah,
if you just
exactly.
leave these people to their own devices.
Or is it because they are just like, hey, you know what's gonna make you want to be like stick around an appointment in 2029?
Right. It's like, we've made you go through so much to get this appointment. You're gonna stay around for that appointment.
That's the thing. In 2029, be like, hey, look, it's great. Like I'm married with children.
Yeah.
I have everything to live for now.
Oh my God.
And it's like, you're welcome.
You're wasting my time. No, well, I called when I got here to try get, because I got warned that getting some of my medication might be difficult.
No way.
Yeah, because I'm not on like sort of standard antidepressants. They're like a little more. I've tried so much medication that hasn't worked for me that I'm on not the first or second or third choices for like a lot of medication.
Right.
And the one medication I'm on in the UK, for some reason, so it's an antidepressant, and one of the side effects is that it seems to help people quit smoking. Okay? That is a side effect that just happens to be a side effect. No one made it like that. In the UK, on the NHS, it is only prescribed for smoking cessation and not for depression. Which is okay. I mean, I don't know why, but my psychiatrist was like, you're going to really have to hustle to get them to give that to you. And I was like, I don't function without this medication. So yeah, I did get, the person I spoke to was like, yeah, we'll prescribe you this, but you're going to have to see a psychiatrist. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, pop me on that 18-month waiting list, I guess. And then, but for now, can I have my medication? Otherwise, yeah, anyway, so I did get it, which I was quite surprised about. But
I think, again, it kind of like, it makes it a little bit easier when you're like moving countries and stuff like this. No, I was when you're moving countries and things like that. But then I don't know if this happened to you, but I was in Romania a few years ago, and I ran out of like medication because basically my flight got cancelled because of like weather conditions, and I was like so keen, and I was like, I'm not gonna stay here for longer than how long I have to. So I didn't pack any extra medication. I was like 7 tablets.
You always pack extra medication.
I didn't, because I was like, again, I know that I'm going to come back. And then I'm like on the way to the airport, and it turns out the flight got cancelled because of like weather conditions. And then I have to go back to my hometown. And then I remember going to this like pharmacy, and then I was like, hey lady, like, can I please get some like of this meds, because I need it for tomorrow. And then she was like, why? And I was like, well, because like I think at the time it was a depressive. I was just diagnosed with like what's it called? Not depressive disorder, was the aggressive type of depression.
Major depressive disorder?
No, it was something else. Anyway,
depression, but real bad, lady.
Yeah, real bad, the bad one. And I was like, oh yeah, like I've got like a medical condition. And then she was like, what, did I diagnose you? And I was like, no, but that's you couldn't anyway because you're a pharmacist. But can I please have my
She's like, I beg to differ. I could go.
She's like, I don't, like we don't just like give this to anyone, like people. What if, because like people like pop them like they have. And I was like, do you think I'm just like coming to and I show her like the package from England. Right. I show her a letter in English. Yes. And I was like, do you think I'm just like going from like pharmacy to pharmacy in a village in Romania, like in a town in Romania, trying to like again now, so like I have to pay for it. Like it's not a prescribed thing like here. Yeah. Or like obviously in here you have to pay, but you pay a certain fee. Yes. In Romania you pay the full price of that medication. And I was like, do you just think that I just like go around places again in like the north of Romania in a town with like, again, I just go from pharmacy to pharmacy 3 days after Christmas, and I'm like, hey, can I please get
one pill?
Yeah.
That if you haven't been taking will not make you feel good, will probably make you feel worse actually for the first couple weeks you're on it. And so I know, how is that? Who's doing that? Who's just like, you know what, I would like one SSRI. Yeah. Because I want to remember why I don't like being alive. Like, why would you?
And I did eventually got it but again, this thing, I had to be like nepotism, because I was like, because I show my ID and then they see my last name and then they're like, And I was like, yeah, I'm related to.
Okay.
And then she was like, okay, I'll bring it for you.
Oh, that is
there you
so
go.
irritating.
Yeah, but I was. This is the thing. I also like. I hated it.
Well, it's hard. Look, I get it that there's like protocols and stuff, but
I generally just think she was just being difficult.
I mean, it sounds like
Because it just seemed like she was just so like, wow, it's not my problem. And like, it was like kids buy this and then they, they like
what
go
do you mean?
crazy.
Kids are like crushing up and snorting antidepressants.
And I was like, then why are you giving them to kids and you don't give it to me?
That's a good point. Yeah, stop giving them to
How'd
children.
How'd you know?
Then.
Yeah.
Stop giving unprescribed medication to children.
There you go.
Well, that's.
So that was that was the time I ran out of medication.
Oh, it's bad. It's terrifying.
But that's as far as I went, because otherwise, I always get meds like prescribed here. When I need them. At the moment, if anything, at the moment, I get something for my migraines. Like right. when I get like really worked up, that's actually my biggest problem. Like the blood goes to like my head and it just hurts. And
I also.
So that's my main.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my power juice or whatever for now.
Right. That stuff's hard as well to get. They don't give you. I don't know if it's all over the UK, but where I'm staying, there's like a ban on giving adults ADHD medication.
No way.
And no one really explained why, or how long it's gonna last. But like at the moment, they're like, look, we can't prescribe you medication or give it to you. And I was like, well,
just guess you gotta call the streets.
I mean, I know I don't really do anything if I don't have that medication. So I had to get someone to bring it to me from South Africa.
No way.
Yes, because otherwise I'm not gonna get it.
Fair enough.
And like,
that's wild.
I know. I was also like, I'm not. Look, and that is a medication people do abuse, but
yeah, but again, this is the thing, though. It's almost like I feel like this. What's it called? Because I heard about it before. This like sort of like blanket, system. Ban. I think it's ridiculous. It's stupid as fuck. Because it's almost like, I guess again now you're making people who actually do need it suffer.
Yes.
Because again you see abuse. Okay, fine. Then what's the word? You can be a bit more like harsher with it and make sure that people don't abuse it. But then again, you do that while you still, because again, you could just like someone could just ask you perhaps more questions or just be like, okay, I give you this, and then you even like it's not that hard these days to just put it into a much stricter of like, okay, you get 28 pills every 25 days or like 26 days, and that's it. Like if you lose it, it's your fault.
Yes,
this is the sort of stuff.
Totally, and also it could be like a rigorous exam, I guess. And diagnosis, but I know it's really unfair to, because also I know a lot of people with ADHD who get really depressed when they don't have medication because they stop functioning and they like get all overwhelmed and anxious. And then you have to get on the waiting list to see the psychiatrist in 2029.
And then, but you see, then again, this is the thing though, because it's like, again, because I think someone is abusing it, and then you're almost like, we know who's abusing it, but we don't really want to say who's abusing it because we don't want to seem like we're singling people out. No, fucking single people out.
Do you know who I think it is? I have a theory. It's not a fair theory, but this is in Oxfordshire. Okay, this is in that county is where the ban is. I think it's Oxford students.
Fair.
Who are, because at university is when I know people who abused like Concerta and Ritalin the most. I think the students all of them are asking for ADHD medication. And so they're like, you know what, we're going to do a blanket rule instead of having to decide which of these students should get the ADHD medication.
They got money. They get maintenance loans. Call your dealer.
That's my theory, but it's really unfair and it's based on nothing. So I want to be clear that I'm aware that I'm making this statement based on no information whatsoever.
It's okay. We'll hopefully go on Joe Rogan next week.
That's the dream. I'm trying to be controversial so that I get more traction.
So tell me, why do you think? Right. So where's the evidence? Nowhere is.
No, it doesn't matter. It's not about evidence.
So there is a CCTV footage from the parking at Sainsbury's, which shows loads of students jumping in and out of cars. That clearly means they are going around. Maybe that's why also in my hometown in Romania, they are being cheeky about like giving the medication. I reckon there are like Oxford students who fly to Romania.
It's Oxford students, the whole world. It's all the Oxford students.
Abuse the pharmaceutical industry in Romania.
I know. You would also think that like a lot of the Oxford students could go to private doctors.
Or just make your own medication.
You're at Oxford, come on.
Yeah.
How hard could it be? Why are you at Oxford if you can't make your own medication?
Exactly.
Breaking Bad.
They probably self-diagnose anyway. No, sorry, that wasn't a nice comment, but
well, it's okay. I mean, that's what people do. I probably have to go get ready for this gig soon.
Yes. Well, this has been a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure.
Now, before we part ways, where do so this is gonna come out in like end of April.
Okay, cool.
So have you got anything coming up, or even if like for any updates, where do people find you on social media?
Well, I do have. Look, at the end of April, I hope to have overcome this depressive episode, which I know it doesn't sound like I'm feeling like that today, but this is what happens when you are in entertainment. I am feeling better today. Anyway, I hope that's how you will find me. You will find me happy. But you can find me at Kate Pinchuck which is KatePinchuck. I'm sure you'll write it down.
Yeah, it'll be in the bio.
On all the social medias that I have, which I guess are Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I should probably post something on TikTok.
You do TikTok as well?
I mean, I've been really bad with social media recently because it's destroying my mental health, quite honestly. But I do post some stand-up videos on all of those. And very exciting, I have my solo show, Don't Panic, which is an award-winning show that I debuted at the National Arts Festival in South Africa, which is the biggest arts festival in Africa. I'm doing my solo stand-up show, Don't Panic, at the Queen of Hoxton in Shoreditch at the end of May. And you can buy tickets for that if you search Kate Pinchuck and Don't Panic. And it is, unsurprisingly, about therapy and mental health and mental illness, but in like such a fun way.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
You see, as if it was meant to be.
I know.
Perfect. Well, Kate, thank you so much. Good luck with the gig.
Thank you, lady. Thank you for having me.
No, it was my pleasure. Thank you. So, what do you think? Was it good? Was it what you hoped for? Was it better? Was it worse? I hope it wasn't worse. But look, actually, this is something that I was meant to say for a few weeks, and I forgot. For anyone that's got any suggestions or anything like this about the podcast, any what's the word? I guess suggestions is good enough of a word. Reach out to me. Let me know what your thoughts are. I would love to hear from you. But look, I think it was a brilliant episode with Katie, and it was such a pleasure to have her over and to talk about life, comedy, and mental health. And once again, check out her work. She's brilliant. And in regards to my work, check it out too. I've got the links on the YouTube. I've got the links on the my social media. It's also on the bio usually. But thank you all for listening. I appreciate you. Any admin that I need to do? No. I've got a couple of gigs, but that I'm gonna be on in the next few weeks. You can see the dates on my my Instagram or through the link on the Instagram or the website. Besides of that, I think that's it. Yeah. Until next week, I'm just very excited to enjoy this the rest of the day by just chilling out. And my kitties are just running around, and I want to be a part of it. So I'm not by running with them, by the way. It's just I just want to watch them play, basically. So that's from me. That's it from me, guys. And people. I meant to say people. From me, Pickle and Sarma. Until next week, stay skillful and goodbye.